Hawaii. I'm gonna go to Harvard School or medicine or whatever, which is all beautiful. But I don't hear none of that people my age or younger than me, older than me. Yeah, I'm gonna go to India and study the first medicine practice that's on the planet Earth. It's rare. So, what influenced you to put your kind of the devotion to it? When you was
it's interesting because I didn't plan it.
Oh, I see.
So I was studying yoga, and yoga was really helpful for me. But I was still having quite a few physical problems, health problems. And so I went to India to study more yoga. And while I was there, I met an Ayurvedic doctor and started getting treatments from him. And I was so fascinated by it, and it was helping me so much that I just decided I needed to learn it. And it was really, really organic. And then he took me on as his student. And I believe at the moment, I'm probably the fourth. Well, at that time, I'm the second student he ever took on. And now he's probably taken on 2 more. And I studied with him one-on-one.
Wow.
What a blessing.
In India.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, before this, have you ever been to India, like as a tourist and stuff?
No, I never wanted to go.
So you went specifically for your training?
I went specifically to continue my yoga studies, and then had this experience with Ayurveda.
Wow.
And what's interesting is I've traveled all over the world, but I never, ever wanted to go to India.
Okay.
I had no desire to. But
Is it safe?
Yes.
Is it safe back then and now too? I mean, not because of the COVID, but is it a safe place? I mean, you're a woman coming from America.
As far as that, it's very, very safe.
Yeah.
So Indian men tend to be very respectful. It's an easy place for women to travel around, but most people that go, Westerners, they get sick when they're there.
Because of the water or just the food? Or
It's
air?
everything.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Pollution, maybe?
It's a bit of pollution. It's a bit of the food. Refrigeration is not super, super common. And, yeah, generally people get sick when they're there.
Where would you start with your Ayurveda training? Like where would you start? Do you start with like for example, I'm trying to picture like a masseuse will learn about the body and then learn the technique of massage. But what exactly like you mentioned like to diagnose or recommend?
Well, probably the basic thing that maybe some people know about Ayurveda is that it's based on elements in the body, which are called doshas. And there are 3 categories of these doshas. One is vata, the other one is pitta, and the third is kapha.
And these 3 groups encompass the whole body system, energy system, physical, tissue, organs, and all that. Fit in one of these categories.
Yeah, exactly. Emotions too.
Oh, wow.
So physical and mental, and emotions. And each person comes into the world with a different makeup, and so with a different combination of these doshas. And that's why certain things will work for some people but won't work for others.
Makes sense, right? Certain Western medicines work for some people, some doesn't. So likewise.
Yeah.
So how do you go about deciphering your patient or the person you're helping into what doshas they need?
Well, with the experience I've had, it's almost automatic now. So just by looking at you and Brian, Andrea, I can tell what your doshic makeup is.
Wow.
What's out of balance and what your true nature should be.
That's unreal.
Okay, I like this.
Arlie, I told you.
Now we're getting really interested.
Because I'm gonna intervene for 2 seconds. Well, this is a podcast. So anyway, this Hawaiian guy. This was years ago, and I was heavy weightlifting, this and that, and I was working at where I worked at the prison at that time, and he laid hands on me, and when he touched my back, he was like, wow, you got some stuff. I mean, it's not even with dealing with the muscles. It's about the energy was so negative and bad. And he said, man, yeah, it will take me a little while, Brian, so just bear with me. So it was pretty much, hands over the body. It's not even going into my deep tissue. He knew something was wrong with me if I wasn't drinking enough water or if I drank a lot of alcohol. He read me like a book. And I don't know this guy. And I was like, wow. So on the Hawaiian side, on the Polynesian side, or, he passed away already, but he was putting me in check. I was like maybe 30, 35 years old. And he said, wow, man, Brian, you got to cut back on certain things like alcohol.
Oh, that's good.
And then and certain foods was high, with sugar, fats, and salt. So it's I guess that's the basic thing. When I was growing up, everything was just S&S, sugar and salt. And then I had so much water retention between my skin and my muscle, and I just didn't look healthy. Yeah. And he told me straight out, Brian, man, you gotta quit something, or else something's gonna happen to you one day. And so that was the first take of somebody looking at my dosha, so to speak.
Your makeup,
my makeover. Exactly. Yeah, that's incredible that she can tell.
Yeah, a question about that. So is that kind of like reading auras, or is that kind of like having psychic abilities?
I would say no.
Oh, okay.
It's actually very physical. So you can actually diagnose from where somebody has lines on their face. You can do tongue diagnosis. You can diagnose and also tell what doshic makeup somebody is by
a visual inspection.
Yeah, so visual by the size of their eyes, the sound of their voice.
Wow.
What their hair looks like.
Wow. Good thing
all
I got
of
a
these
cap
things.
on.
Yeah. Also, you can, like Chinese medicine, you can do it through the pulse. And some, I would say, could be intuitive as well.
Wow, that is very interesting. When did this this ability start to grow in you? When you just went as someone who wanted to learn, that you were a patient at one time, to, like, you're talking, if you have to learn any kind of skill, it takes what is it? What they say, like 10,000 hours of doing something to be good at it. Like when did it start happening to where you start being able to do these things instinctively? And
it was really interesting because I really feel like I was led into this profession because it wasn't a choice; it just happened to me. And when I met the Ayurvedic doctor, I immediately had a connection to him as well and felt very, very comfortable. And he immediately wanted to teach me. And so from there, after my first trip to India, I came back to Maui, and I was working for a yoga teacher who had a yoga studio. And he had quite a few clients, and so immediately I started working with people. And so right away, I put everything I was learning into practice.
Wow.
And then you started your own practice?
Yes.
And when did you start that?
I think it's maybe 10 years ago, maybe. 9 years ago, yeah.
And do you have like an office, or do you go to people's homes?
Oh, I have an office, yeah.
And where is that located?
In Paia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And where exactly? Like your address, so people can find you.
We're plugging you.
I mean, because I may be interested.
Well, at the moment, because of COVID, I'm actually not taking on any new patients.
Okay.
And but I am doing things through Zoom, so online. So
good.
that's a really
Good.
nice way
Yeah.
for people to find out information, because I can also diagnose, especially somebody's doshic makeup, just from a Zoom connection.
Oh,
yeah.
that's great.
Yeah. And of course, I'll ask lots of questions too to find out what's going on.
Wow.
Could you mention without naming any names, like a really great like story of how your method of healing and lifestyle help someone out?
Yeah, I think one of the first clients that I saw a huge change in, and I say clients because I'm actually not allowed to say patients. So I'm recognized as an Ayurvedic doctor by the National American Ayurvedic Association, but in the USA, I'm not recognized as a doctor. So that's why I said you don't need to call me doctor.
I see.
But I am certified through NAMA, the organization. So for now, I'll just call them clients. So one of my clients was an older woman. She was probably in her mid-50s. She was quite overweight. She had all sorts of issues, asthma. She'd lived on the Big Island for a while, so she had quite a few lung issues. She was depressed. Probably everything you could imagine that would be wrong with this woman. And she looked probably 10 years older when I met her. So we worked together, and Ayurvedic medicine can work quickly, but also for things that have been around for quite a long time, it takes a little bit of time to reverse those things. But when you reverse it, it becomes permanent. It's not something that you have to then you want to be aware of things, but you don't have to keep doing it.
Oh.
So we worked together, and everything changed. She stopped having asthma. She lost weight. I think when I started working with her, she actually was, I can't remember the name for it, but it's when people don't like to go out in public. Is it agoraphobia?
Yes.
Yeah.
Agoraphobia.
Agoraphobia,
Yeah.
right. And that shifted as well. And so today, she looks 10 years younger.
Wow.
She lost all the weight. She's no
in
longer
public?
depressed. Yes, and she's
wonderful.
out in public. She has a lot of friends. She's traveling. I mean, her life changed from, one direction where it was just going downhill, 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 to completely the other direction where she's just so happy and living a fantastic life.
Wow, that's great. That's
Yeah.
a great
unreal.
story.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Excuse me, because I'm looking through your site here,
Yeah.
and I'm looking in the section that says treatments,
Uh-huh.
and I'm just looking up the titles. Abhyanga,
Pretty good. Abhyanga.
Abhyanga.
There's some hard. That's why I'm keeping my
Yeah.
mouth tight shut. I can't even say it.
And
I'm
you
looking-
He's brave. He's like going for it.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I'm not gonna screw this up.
You got Svedana
Spadena, good.
and Nazium
Perfect.
How about Basti?
Basti.
That I
Yeah.
That's an easy one, B.
Because it's B. It's my.
Well, it's like me trying to say Hawaiian words. I'm like, am I saying this right?
that's why I say far away from those words. It's hard. The Indian.
Well, actually, it's not. So Sanskrit is, Hawaiian is actually similar to Sanskrit in the sense that you sort of pronounce every letter. Yeah.
So of these treatments, which you have probably done to help people, is there any, like you said, everybody has a different need.
Uh-huh.
So of course the treatments will be different for different
Exactly.
people, even though they have the same symptoms. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So, and of all these treatments, is there one in particular for people in Hawaii? Because of where we live, or something
there's
like
definitely one. That's a really good question. So, you see in this picture,
Okay.
the
Sorry.
one in the top right,
Uh-huh.
where it looks like I'm about to put something in this woman's nose.
Right.
This is Nastium,
Okay.
and this treatment is excellent for the congestion that people in Hawaii get. So it's excellent for asthma. It's excellent for sinus infections. It's excellent for hearing problems. It's excellent for eye problems. It's excellent for the thyroid. So it's a treatment that actually works from this part of the body, it actually helps with the lungs as well, but from this part of the body all the way up. It also helps tremendously with, sometimes people experience here, because of the humidity that Hawaii has, but something like brain fog. It's hard for them to get clear and focused, and the brain sort of feels sluggish, and this treatment helps with that as well.
Wow, this is...
So this treatment actually was developed, so Ayurveda was developed by yogis, and yogis developed or discovered Ayurveda through meditation to figure out how they could have a more spiritual life. So the spiritual aspect of this treatment is to help people meditate, to clear the third eye, and to give clarity of mind.
Okay. So this is not something that somebody could just, hey, I'm going to start doing this tomorrow. It's pretty involved. You
No,
know?
Actually they can.
Oh, they can?
Yeah, so, it's been my desire for the longest time to sort of get this information out to lots of people,
That's
because
great.
there's some simple things that if somebody does every day, it will absolutely, completely change their life.
Okay.
And it's not expensive. It just takes that dedication to do it. But especially for people here, this nasium, which could be done daily at home, would have a huge positive effect.
Okay, looks like you need some help, though, to do that particular treatment.
Well, this is just actually for the photo that
Okay.
we're doing it like this.
Okay.
Yeah, so my clients, I always, actually for every client I work with, I send them home with a little bottle, and they can just squeeze drops of oil, specific oil, in their nose, and that is a nasium treatment.
Okay. And
So is that essential oils you're talking about? Or
No,
so
very, very different.
It's a different thing
Yeah.
from aromatherapy or what have
Yeah,
you.
very, very different.
so, and these ingredients, obviously, they're not something you can grow in your backyard, right?
Well, actually, what's interesting is that where I studied in India, it's South India, and the climate there is very similar to here. And so I actually grow some things in my backyard.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
But having said that, it takes a lot of time to create these oils. So they're highly refined, in a good way, and basically the way Ayurvedic oils are made, certain types of oils are cooked with specific herbs, and they're cooked slowly on a low heat for a long, long period of time, and then they're filtered and cleared. They actually chant mantra over all the different oils that they create, at least where I get the oils. And so it's a big, big, long process.
Very interesting. So almost like making a potion then.
Yeah, kind of.
I mean-
Actually, it's fascinating because the last time I was in India, I went to a factory where I was actually at an Ayurvedic hospital, which is common in India, that they have medical facilities that are all Ayurveda. And I went to the factory, and there are these huge copper pots, like cauldrons, where
Wow.
they have the oil and the herbs, and they have people there stirring and cooking them for
Wow.
days and days. Sometimes it's for 30 days.
Wow.
See, Americans is making beer, and then Indians is making that. It's still unhealthy and healthy. You want to do that? You go to India, and then you don't stir beer.
Well, actually, beer and all alcohol.
Please say it's good
originally,
for you.
It was originally all of it was created medicinally,
Yes.
but
Uh-oh.
like anything medicinal, if it's overused,
Yes.
it can create a problem.
It becomes poison.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, and then since you mentioned poison, another thing with Ayurveda is that everything that is nature made on the planet can either be poison or the best thing ever, depending on who takes it, when they take it, how they take it, how much they take.
Huh.
And also the process of refining it or
Right.
creating
Mhm.
your potion, right?
Potion, yes.
So the refinery part takes a long time then to
Yeah.
get it into form.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Now, was this part of your training in India to learn how to make these medicines?
No.
Okay.
I would have loved to make that part of what I do, but when I saw the time and effort it takes to make these, unfortunately, I realized, number one, with my practice, I was already so busy. And in India, they have too many people for a few jobs. And so it's easy for them to hire, 100 people to help create all of these oils and to keep the price low. That's the other aspect.
Okay, because that would be a whole different discipline to get into making these medicines. And where do you find the time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But maybe somebody one day, I did meet somebody one day who talked about growing all the Ayurvedic different herbs and plants in Hawaii and seeing if they could process things here. But it would be a huge, huge production.
Sure.
And maybe at this point it's better to utilize what we have here already, because we have so many medicinal plants on the island already.
Yes. Do you use any of the native Hawaiian plants for any of your treatments?
Yeah, actually, a lot of the native Hawaiian plants, I don't know if they're native, but the ones that are here now also are used in India. They grow there in South India, like guava, for example. Super medicinal value to guava. You can use the leaf, the fruit, the bark.
Similar to Hawaii's culture,
Yeah.
they're using every part
Exactly.
of the plant or fruit.
And papaya is super, super good. So papaya leaves, if you drink papaya leaf tea, helps prevent cancer. It also helps prevent virus, helps prevent malaria.
Wow.
Wow.
And that's just the
Well,
leaf.
what's your take on the noni plant?
So that one is not, that one's specifically Hawaiian. It's not in Ayurvedic medicine, but just smelling it, feeling it, tasting it, it is a powerful healing fruit. Yeah. And I think it's, when you get past the nastiness of it.
And because most of the locals, even myself growing up, noni was the big thing with my grandma and my mom saying, or even like the cactus, for burns. Just simple stuff, but this is like a whole different level of understanding,
So you also have training programs?
Right.
Now is this to be able to treat people, or just to take care of yourself? You're training
I
them
have both, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Because
So,
also when you do have clients, you're basically kind of teaching them of how this method works and
Right.
and to take care of their doshas.
Yeah, that's like a big focus of my practice is when I was sick, I felt so disempowered. I went to doctors. The first doctor I went to told me I had some disease. I was going to have to live with it my whole life. The second doctor said, the only way to cure it is to do surgery and cut out a part of your body. And I felt so helpless, and I felt like I didn't know why I was sick. I didn't know how I could cure myself. And so once I studied Ayurveda, I realized why it happened and what I could do to help myself get better. And so a big part of my practice is to empower people, is that we can diagnose ourselves, just by looking at the tongue every day in the mirror, your own tongue. You can see what's going on with your body by noticing what comes out of your body with the urine and the stool.
Yes.
And then teaching people to what they can then do to keep themselves healthy and happy and balanced and living a long life.
Okay. So I'm talking from angle of somebody who drinks a lot of beer, and I can't really see myself being totally 100% going healthy because I like to taste all the flavors of life, and but I do want to be healthy. So
is there hope for you?
like can you do something to offset the damage?
Yeah, so there's absolutely. So another part of my practice is that, and it comes from my background. So I'm Italian. I was born in Switzerland, but in the Italian part to an Italian mother. And in Italy, there's an aspect of the way you live life, which is to enjoy your life. And one of the things that I see a huge issue with is the strictness that people put on themselves or others, as far as you have to do this, you can't do that, you have to follow this diet, you can't drink beer, you can't do this or that or the other. And Ayurveda is all about balance. So it is like, if you do this at the same time, maybe it's not so bad what you're doing. So it really is about living a healthy life, but enjoying your life. I mean, that's so important. And the other thing is, when our doshas are out of balance, the vata, pitta, and the kapha, we crave the things that put us more out of balance.
Oh, very interesting.
So rather than, what I prefer to do with people is to help them balance their doshas, which then makes them want to eat healthier foods that's better for them, rather than tell them you can't have this, you can't have that, you can't have the other, because when you're out of balance, that is exactly what you want.
Wow.
Okay.
This is
I think
a lot of great information. That's
I think there's moments in
you can't
my
go to
mind,
Costco, everybody. You can't go to Costco.
I go to Costco.
There's good things at Costco.
I
Plenty
do.
good
I
things.
just wanted to rev everybody up,
Just Costco, come on.
No,
I'm just kidding.
So
Yeah, the good thing is that when you do find a balance, or when you are feeling good, then you notice when you go off. You notice, and then so it's like, oh wow, okay, maybe I shouldn't stay away from that food, or maybe I should just stay away from that for now till I come back to balance.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you feel bad, like I'm having that as I get to experiment on my body over the decades, you kind of, like, if you feel bad, you just go, I just feel bad today. But if you kind of narrow it down to what happened, day before or a couple of days before, then you start to either use that and take care of it, or just deny it and just, that's the way it's going to be, I guess.
Yeah.
But getting back to the doshas, in 2015, you started something called the daily dosha, right?
Yeah.
And is that this program, what we're seeing?
It's actually I started it to help my clients understand their doshas, and it's a online program that allows them to put information in every day if they want to do it every day, and when they put that information in, the program will tell them what dosha is out of balance.
That's great. So
and then it will give them what they can do to help bring that dosha back into balance. And that's really what Ayurveda is about, as far as, what I've dedicated my practice to, is, as opposed to some natural health doctors that work specifically on, this person has this illness, so you give them things to fix that problem, is if the doshas are balanced, it's like a healthy garden. It will never get disease. So my practice is all about balancing the doshas and teaching people how to balance their doshas themselves, to recognize when the doshas are out of balance, and then learning all the things they can do.
That sounds like a lot of information. So say if I was to, or someone was to call and wanted to get that information, the doshas, would that be considered like one consultation, or do you have to go over through like several months to get the hang of it, or the gist of it?
That's why I actually put together my daily dosha program, is so that people could do that on their own without having to come and ask me all the time.
Oh, okay.
So, my preference is that I would meet with somebody and give them information that would help them in that moment. But what happens is that when you start balancing the doshas, is that over time, then you need to balance a different one. So if I tell you today, do this, 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 by the springtime, you need to be doing something different. So it changes with the season as well. So the idea is to get this understanding of the doshas, and it's all common sense. It's not magic, it's just very, very simple things. Like when it's cloudy, it's wet, and it's rainy, kapha increases. When kapha increases, people who struggle, for example, from asthma will have more problems. in the spring, it becomes more dry and windy, so that's vata dosha. So people who have a problem with vata in the spring, they'll have more issues. They'll notice more nervousness, more anxiety, more dryness in their body, more constipation, and so on.
So, so if Brian wants to start his thing going, what's the first step?
What, asthma?
Or just the daily dosha program? What would be the first step?
Well,
or me, or anyone.
Yeah. So
call you up and
yeah.
say,
So
okay.
my preference would be for someone to I actually like email because it's actually hard to reach me by phone. Somebody can actually through my website they can contact me and we can set up a consultation either by Zoom or just over the phone or in person. As I said, right now I'm not seeing people in my office so much. And then I would see what the person needs, get them on a program, maybe suggest a treatment. And that's the other thing is I do my best to work with somebody's life where they are. If they're really busy, they can't come to see me very often, or if their finances, if they're don't have a lot of money, how do I work with them so that it will be effective for them with what their resources are? So everybody's different, but it could be a treatment plan, it could be just some herbs that somebody would start and go home with, and or getting started with my daily dosha and figuring out if somebody's ready for that.
Oh, okay. That's great. Yeah.
You think with the the local lifestyle here with people, over years I see a lot of my family and friends, they're not here anymore. And, I used my father and my brother's way of life as a guideline because I'm 55. My father had a heart attack at 55. My brother he's not here anymore. He died 3 years ago, but he died of a stroke. But at 55 or 56, I think he had like 2 mini strokes before he had a stroke that took his life. So I'm looking at, I pretty much try to really, really take care of myself, over the years. But the only thing I was going on is using my family's, lineage, how can I change it the course of time instead of do what they did?
Right.
I'm not trying to, blame them, but everybody had their own theory. I'm going to work. I'm not going to breathe. I'm going to eat everything in sight. Main thing, I got energy for the next day of work.
Right.
And that's all they had as far as the mentality and the knowledge.
Yeah.
So the knowledge passed down to me was pretty much the same thing. But as years went by, I was like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So this whole thing, it's, I'm so into it right now. That's why I'm trying not to, I'm really listening closely to you. It's something that I love to do because, not to try. I mean, it's from hearing it for this amount of time, I'm totally into it.
Yeah, what's interesting is when you describe what your family did, that is a pitta imbalance. So people who are workaholics or have a huge appetite, eat a lot, their pitta would be out of balance. And so people who have out of balance pitta generally tend to end up with heart problems if they have a whole lifetime of out of balance pitta.
And even with because I remember back in the day, my dad used to, he used to work, just funky shifts, late at night, so you have to stay up late, waiting for the sugar to come in from, wherever, from Makawao, Lahaina, and it's like no sleep.
Yeah.
There's no sleep at all. And you come home at 7 o'clock, you started at 7 o'clock the following day.
Yeah.
How can you recover? How can you replenish everything?
Right.
And then you're going to binge eat at the tail end.
Yeah.
That doesn't help.
Right.
At all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all those things have an effect on our health.
So that's under pitta?
So
for imbalance with the sleeping and the eating?
Yeah, well, not sleeping and overeating, it can come from different places,
Uh-huh.
but sleep schedule, of course, is really important, getting good quality sleep. But again, it's challenging, and that's what people don't understand, is that they can, try to discipline themselves, and for some people that will work, but for other people it's more important that you start balancing the doshas first, and then it all becomes easy.
Yeah, so the people who in India who know this practice and who practice it, they could possibly have jobs that require them to start at 7 in the morning and finish at 7 at night. But because of there's discipline involved too, personal discipline, because you may know what to do, but unless you actually do it, it's not going to help. But I think for the first step is just the knowledge of, the method.
Yeah.
And then
Well, I think, just getting the doshas a little bit balanced to begin with will help somebody with the discipline, because some people they have such a hard time getting themselves to do something.
Right.
So that, I think, is key, to just create a little bit of a shift, so then one thing becomes easier, then the next becomes easier.
Yeah.
And then the good thing is that even if somebody has a lifestyle where they're not able to sleep normal hours, there's other things you can do to balance, so that's not as harmful.
Yeah, like maybe take a nap on the job. No, but as far as like physical exercise, do you do what do you do for outside of yoga, which is extreme? Because I've actually tried it.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be extreme.
No, I mean it's hard to do. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's actually not supposed to be hard to do.
Well, I can imagine you're probably really, really good at it. But like to do a certain pose, I mean, just a warrior pose, for someone is strenuous. But
yeah,
you grow into it, yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, I mean, a lot of yoga that's taught in this country is extreme. And, I studied in India with teachers there. And one thing I'd like to say about it is that yoga is actually the authentic way is it's taught to match where the person's body is. So it's not about forcing yourself to go into strange positions and seeing if you can do it. It's about, generally, a teacher works with a student one-on-one, sees where their body is, and gives them things that they can do to help move their body into different positions that they feel more comfortable. So it's actually not supposed to be hard.
But them, and I guess they were beginners, pose. But then I've seen some crazy, flexibility, stuff. Can you do all that kind of?
No, that's not the purpose of yoga.
Okay.
So it's not, the purpose of yoga is not to become a pretzel. It's not to.
You heard it, Arlene.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
it's
right.
not to. I mean, it really. I mean, that's a whole different subject, but I'd love to talk about it.
I would love to hear it. Yeah.
The yoga you are seeing on TV in yoga studios in this country is not true yoga.
And I agree with that, because they had a documentary on the American yoga or westernized yoga compared to the yoga in India.
Yeah.
It's totally black and white. It's like east and west. It's
Yeah.
not on the
It's
same plane.
no.
But it's got to help, right?
No,
Somehow stretching and
It's
breathing.
not about just stretching, though. Arlene.
Yeah.
It's not about just stretching. Well, you can have the floor in that.
No, go for it.
No, it's about breath. Breath is yoga, and if you don't know how to breathe, what's the sense of, to me, why do yoga? I mean, why go in posture where breath is everything?
Yeah, so that what you're saying is exactly right. So my teachers taught me that if you're not doing breath and movement coordination,
Yes.
like Tai Chi, so the true asana, which is the movement, yoga means a lot of things, but asana is the physical practice, or the, not physical, but the movement of the body. It actually looks a lot more like Tai Chi.
Oh.
You do not start any movement at all without the breath. And the breath is what allows the body to move and release energy that's stuck, and allows the body to relax into the different asana positions.
There you
And
go. That's
yeah,
it.
and it's you know, the original statement in the science of yoga and Ayurveda is that yoga is for the mind and Ayurveda is for the body.
Wow.
That is beautiful.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
So,
this is amazing stuff because you just blew my mind. I thought like so I'm ignorant about this. Okay, like downward dog and all these poses.
Mm-hmm.
Do you practice those movements at all?
Not really. No.
But do you feel that, I mean, they've got to be good for something, right?
Yeah, I mean, given it's basically application of a movement that will help this particular person.
Mhm.
So I did do, I started yoga when I was 19. I did Bikram to start with.
Bikram, yeah, heard of that.
And then I did all different kinds and Western yoga. And I actually got a shoulder injury from doing
The Western yoga?
Yeah, Western yoga. And then I went to India. When I moved to Maui, I was thinking to myself, there has to be something more to this. It's got to be more than just moving the body. And then actually I had a yoga teacher here who had studied with authentic teachers in India and started getting an idea that something is different here. And when I did that practice, authentic yoga practice, I felt completely different. My injuries cleared up. The breath work made me feel completely different. I felt calm, I felt peaceful, I felt grounded. And then, of course, when I went to India and studied with the teachers there, I said, oh my God, this is not at all what I've, been doing in my yoga practice for however long.
No,
so this yoga you're talking about, who does that on the island?
No one right now.
Are you kidding me?
No.
How's that?
Yeah.
But I see
a
lot of people.
I mean, maybe, okay, I don't know every yoga teacher. Let me take that back.
Mm-hmm.
And haven't been to every yoga studio, but I've been searching because my teacher moved away, and I've been searching for, 10 years to find somebody who.
I'd say it's like Arlie is a very well-rounded human being, and
Thank you, Brian.
and as far
You're not
as
talking about my shape, are you?
no, you want to go on a stilt right now to be 6'10"? Okay, so anyway, see, I forgot what I'm gonna say now. No, it's a whole different world in India, and one of the first moves from when I was watching that documentary, they get all the snot out of their nose. They got this row of guys, and clearing the nasal.
They probably put some oil in first.
Yeah, they got this ditch that goes on for miles. It's like everybody's all in white, taking out all their stuff out of the nasal, and let's do yoga now. But it's all about the nasal cavity and the breath, how you transfer in inhale, exhale.
So a true asana practice would have chanting,
right,
which is Sanskrit chanting, which is similar to Hawaiian chanting, and that creates a vibration.
right,
And it has pranayama, which is the breath work,
Mhm.
and the asana, which is getting the body to feel more relaxed and comfortable, and then finishes with meditation.
So with these American words, why who gave that words to the movement or?
Well, sometimes it is the translation of the Sanskrit.
Yeah.
So pigeon pose, for example, is, if you translate Sanskrit, it becomes that. But sometimes they're just made up.
Yeah.
It's like a martial arts movie. And everybody can say block the tree when it's actually something else.
Yeah, I don't want to knock anything because especially if I don't know about it, and I definitely don't know. I just know what I know about yoga, and it's.
You learn it from P90X. That's why.
No, just from what you see on TV and what's around. So I just thought it was that. So
Yeah.
I don't want to knock any style, but I'm thinking how do I relate this? Like, okay, if you get a taco in Mexico.
Taco, like Taco Bell?
Yeah, and then you go to Taco Bell, somebody will say that's not taco.
Oh.
Right.
So kind of like that. But
exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up because yoga, regular yoga, like Bikram when I started it helped me tremendously.
Yeah.
So it's not that that's not good for people.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's wrong. It's just that there's so much more to it. And that especially like if someone tries it and they say, oh, it's too hard for me, or, you know, I can't do that, you know, then it's a little bit like, oh, well, you know, that's actually not it.
Yeah.
There is this practice which is real yoga, which anybody can do, from a 90-year-old to a 2-year-old. And so just the education that there is more to it than that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I first started studying yoga, I was doing hatha yoga, and I was younger, and I got really into it, but it was more coming from the Western standpoint, and of like, okay, you see this pose, you have to get this pose perfect, and then it was all about, oh, is my straight? Is it, you know,
Right.
and I just. You know, it was I didn't realize, I didn't have a good teacher to point it out or whatever, that you know, I wasn't breathing. I was very rigid. It was very rigid, and you know, I did have benefit. I mean, the strength and flexibility.
So is it correct to say that it was just moving your body without air, without breath? Or
well, I was so focused on getting the posture perfect that I would, you know, it was my mistake, but you know, no one was pointing it out to me. That I would just become very rigid. Okay, I have to be straight. I have to have this leg like this. I have to, you know. And it wasn't until I started to do qigong that I realized that I had been practicing yoga wrong all of this way, because I wasn't breathing, and that I was missing this whole other. The more traditional, authentic yoga is more movement based with the breath, and with the movement, and not, you know. Like, you're not trying to fix yourself into some pose.
Yeah, you know, it takes time. It's like a lot of times when you have an instructor, when it comes to teaching them anything, you don't want to bombard your student with all the details.
Yeah.
You just kind of let them just monkey see, monkey do for a little while.
Yeah.
You know,
and then when you have a big class, you can't, like, I mean, that's so beautiful that you said that the yoga is one-on-one, because, I mean, I know just from trying to teach violin to a group of kids, you know, you really can't, you know, people really do need the individual attention, because everyone's body's different. And if you're trying to strain to do something that your body can't do, that's
I think
in
the beginning, it's good to have an instructor, you know, in yoga, so you understand the first step, the first breath. Because you can't, I don't know, going to a class of like say 100 and you're a beginner.
Well, you know, I could see myself with a bunch of experts and people who've been going a long time, and if I'm a new guy, and I'll just grab my towel, I'll sit in the back, and then, you know, of course everybody will be nice and say hi, but they're doing their thing. I'll just monkey see, monkey do, follow as best as I can. I wouldn't expect to master it or even get close to what these guys have been doing for decades. But, you know, I try to get something out of it, and like you did, you jumped right in, and then, but you found out that, you know, you're stiff, you weren't breathing and stuff, but you realized that afterwards. So I think that's the natural progression when you do anything.
And that's taking responsibility as well, which I think, you know, just the way you put that is so beautiful, because we can't say, oh, you know, this person is doing it wrong, and then I was taught wrong, or any of these things, because everything, it's our makeup, it's our personality, it's everything about us that we're bringing into the place. And so, then we respond, you know, a certain way to it. So, that's a really good point there.
What else can you tell us about
Ayurveda?
Ayurveda. Yes, now I'm pronouncing it right. Ayurveda.
Well, that's a really, really big question.
Well, I mean,
it's such a huge subject.
So many different things.
Well, let's see, to break it down. Okay, we talked about the doshas, which is a huge.
Well, one thing that's fascinating to me is that each dosha has different diets or different foods that work to help balance. So, you know, like you say, okay, like people think, oh, I should be vegetarian, or I should be vegan, or I should be this or that, and then really you get into the Indian system, and it's so so much more refined than just some rigid.
Mentioned, Sylvia, about the tones and the sounds, right? In Chinese, like Tai Chi and whatnot, and Qigong, your certain tones for certain organs and the vibration of the sound. So vibration is really big, and I'm sure it is with this because you mentioned it, right? The vibrational things,
Yeah, and actually, I mean, something you just said, I wanted to sort of bring it together is that Ayurveda comes from the land that is now called India, and I believe that Ayurveda was the medical system that was all across the entire planet long before India became India, long before the countries that we know now as countries became those countries. Because what I've noticed is that every natural medicine and every culture that has natural medicine, like Native American Indian, Hawaiian, etc., it actually is coming from the knowledge of Ayurveda. So Lomi Lomi, for example, is actually, very similar to something Ayurvedic, and all Chinese medicine, Tai Chi, Qigong, all of these practices, I don't believe that they came from a separate place.
Right, they encompass the same principles.
Yeah.
It's just, I guess when you're in a certain part of the world, you kind of, the medicines you have available is different.
Yeah, exactly.
The foods, but the concept. And that's why when it comes to this kind of healings and traditions, they're so familiar.
Yeah.
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 And
that's kind of the key that I think I wanted to mention there is that it's not something foreign. It's not something, India, that is non-accessible. It's actually the knowledge of living life as a human being that we all should know. And, ancient Hawaiians knew it. Ancient Scandinavians knew it. Africans, Native American Indians, all of the people from the planet knew this.
And it's great that you're kind of here to educate and also share with people who kind of don't know about it and want to be in touch with that again, because there's so many different paths to take, and this is one of the great paths to take too, to get your body and mind and spirit in order.
Yeah, and I think that for me the key is that it's empowering. So once you start understanding your dosha and your doshic makeup, and there's so much information online right now that people actually can learn a lot on their own if they're curious about it and discover all sorts of things, and then check in with me from time to time just to see if they're on the right path. But I think the most important thing I want to share is that there is this whole health system where nothing is unknown. In Western medicine, they don't know why people get cancer. When I had the sickness I had, they didn't know why I got it. They didn't know how to cure it. They just said I had to live with it. So to realize, like in this medical system, the ancient medical systems, they knew exactly why someone would get cancer, why someone would get heart disease. All of these things were understood, and the treatments were understood as well, how to treat all these different diseases. In Western medicine, it feels like we're taught to believe these things just like plop out of the sky and fall upon us, like you're describing, that somebody just suddenly gets cancer or suddenly has a heart attack or suddenly has this issue. And it's just random and comes from who knows where. Maybe you did a bad deed and that's your punishment kind of thing. And it's not it at all. And I think that's something I think is so important is for people to become empowered, to realize it's the choices they're making leads them down a certain road, and it doesn't ever just happen to somebody.
Exactly, because I had that talk with somebody recently, and said the person just didn't have. He's been smoking cigarettes since 15 years old. So eventually something's gonna not tick right.
Yeah.
But what's your take on what diet is very key, and I always like to hear it from different people. what's a good diet? Like just a snapshot on a diet. I mean, I know it's
You're not asking Sylvia to tell you what to eat, are you?
no, because the only reason why I said that.
So wait a minute. Like, why are you not paying attention?
No.
You're not paying attention
No.
because everybody has a different diet.
Right. But because there was many times where I was driving and having this high sugar thing because
Yeah.
I'm not eating right,
Yeah.
But I'm just curious to see how everybody's different, of course, but there's some diet that we could
Well, to put it in
follow.
in a nutshell.
Yeah,
and
something simple.
is that we should eat what grows in our environment, and if it's natural and healthy,
Mhm.
it's going to be good for most of us.
Mhm.
If we follow that, for most of us, if we're healthy, that will be fine.
Mhm.
If we have particular issues that need to be cleared up, like we have some kind of disease or something that we know is wrong,
Mhm.
then we need to adjust that. But if you're feeling pretty good and you don't feel like anything is seriously wrong and you're not exhibiting symptoms of any kind of disease, then just freshly picked, that's super important. So growing your vegetables would be super important, or community gardens, that kind of thing. What grows here, what grows in season, and just stay away from man-made foods and
See, that's
try
the kind of
choose
stuff I want to
nature
hear.
food.
Something simple. Stay
Yeah,
away
yeah.
from man-made foods.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you very much. There.
Yeah.
Well,
Because people are hard-hit on Maui
yeah.
and Hawaii. We have a hard. I mean, I was hard-hit for many years. Oh, don't eat chocolate, right? No, I'm going to give me the Reese's Buttercup. Give me a cheeseburger from McDonald's.
instinctively, I think, I, all the things that you were talking about, it's important that that we learn how to listen to our bodies,
Yeah.
and the tools that what you're sharing is really important. And some people are lucky; they know that instinctively and they can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
But to act on it is another practice, and
To apply it.
yeah, like I will.
Yeah.
I'll eat cheeseburgers. I eat pizzas. And
Would you drink beer tonight?
Depends. But then again, I'm not gonna. Even though I know it's not good for me,
Okay, so right there is
Yeah.
a big one. So
Yeah.
I'm going to add this in there.
Here we go.
because-
Yeah.
I love cheeseburgers. I
No,
like
no,
pizza.
no, no,
yeah.
not that.
Yeah.
Is that if you're eating something
Mhm.
that you love
Mhm.
and you think it's not good for you,
Mhm.
it's not going to be good for you.
Oh, my mind. Well, it's
Exactly.
good. It's good.
So-
Yeah.
Whatever you're eating,
Uh-huh.
that's number one most important thing.
Uh-huh.
Is if you're eating something, just look at it and think it's the best thing for you ever.
At the time, I will.
Okay.
As it's going down, I'm enjoying it. I go, wow, I'm glad they invented this. This is a great invention. I'm enjoying it. And then the next day I go, okay, my dosha. I need to maybe drink a little bit of extra water today
Well,
to take care of that.
yeah,
Is that kind of what it's about?
Exactly. There's
Okay.
all sorts of things. Like, for example, you love a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
I love a cheeseburger.
All right.
Me too.
So, yeah, it's like, let's have cheeseburgers,
Yeah.
but maybe don't eat it every day.
Right.
And maybe use local meat,
Mhm.
like a venison cheeseburger.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my God, we've got like the best meat on the island.
Really? I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the healthiest meat for you is wild, fish burger,
Mhm.
Grass-fed.
venison burger.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Actually, even the beefier is grass-fed,
Yeah.
happy cows.
exactly.
Yeah.
Blessed.
So there you go, and you get some good, healthy cheese and
Mhm.
put it on there.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
yeah,
now we're
there you
talking.
go.
Yeah.
Okay, CB, you don't have to just eat shoots and roots.
Shoots Well, I don't drink alcohol, so I'm good with that. I mean, I quit alcohol like 5 years ago or so.
Mhm.
So I think that was the big plus. Because when I was drinking alcohol, I was just super heavy.
Mm.
And yeah,
Well, you may need it for medicine one day. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't need Jägermeister and 20,000 bottles of beer on the wall. Because
Well,
That's good,
everything
yeah.
in moderation,
Yeah.
So for some people, they need to stop completely because something in their body just makes them crave it again.
Well, I
like
think-
sugar will do that.
I think it
right?
was more about my father and my brother's diet too. So I mean, they wasn't drinkers, but
Mhm.
their drinking was food. And for me, it was food and drinking. And these men didn't do no exercise at all. It was all about work, so it was very imbalanced. And they ate everything from oily foods to 20 tons of meat, 20 tons of pork, bacon, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So I wanted to change that, and but the first things first is to quit drinking and clean out my diet as best as I could.
Yeah, that's a good move there.
Yeah. Wow.
So
I hear the music.
yeah,
Yeah.
Sylvia, thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you.
And
We gotta have her back, because I feel like I want to just sit here and hear more information, because there's so much more to
That's a
yeah.
lot.
There's a
and
lot.
I
Man.
tried to write down some notes, and
Your dosha looks different now. You have a nice aura. Look at your eyes, so sexy.
thank you. I'd like to get that.
Look at
talk to
you,
you
your
about
rosy cheeks. Look at your dosha.
Oh, you're making me blush now. So everyone, thank you again for coming on the RiFF.
you.
We really
Yeah,
appreciate
all right. Silva, thank
And,
you. Mahalo.
And then
Thank you,
also,
Andrew.
if you look up on the screen right here, this is your
That's
your
a
website.
nice little screen.
And you can
there.
get a lot of information from here to get you started. And we'll go out with some music, and I hope to see you at the 62. Is it 62?
What's that?
62 Market.
62 Market.
62
Oh,
Market.
yeah.
But we're gonna get her back in 62 days over here. We gotta get a repeat, man. This is too short, man.
I know, all right.
We gotta learn more, man.
Okay, aloha.
Okay, aloha. See you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sylvia, that was just life changing, even if it's just the beginning.